Hello and welcome. Let's talk about that time after ovulation. The infamous 2-week wait. It can be such an anxious time, right? You're noticing every single little twinge in your body. And with each one, you're wondering, could this be it? Well, today we're going to dive in and try to decode some of those very earliest physical signs that might just be telling you a pregnancy has begun.
So let's get right to the big question on everyone's mind. Is it actually possible to know if you're pregnant in those first few days right after ovulation? I mean, it's a time of so much hope and, let's be honest, a lot of anxiety. So let's see if we can decode what your body might be trying to tell you.
First things first, we have to start with the foundation. It's super important to remember that a pregnancy can only start during your ovulation window. Now, the exact timing of that window is different for every woman, but this is the absolute starting point for all the signs we're about to get into.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. We're going to kick things off with what our source material calls the two most powerful and definitive early signs. These are the big ones. And to really hammer home just how important these are, the source makes a very bold claim. 99% certainty. Wow. This quote suggests that if you experience these next two signs, it's a very, very strong signal. So, what are they? Let's take a look.
Okay, the first major sign is a sudden and complete shift to vaginal dryness. And the key word here is sudden. This isn't something that happens gradually. It's described as happening almost overnight, like the day after conception is believed to have happened. Especially for women who are used to having regular secretions, this abrupt change can be a really noticeable and powerful clue.
The second really strong sign is something called implantation spotting. This usually happens a few days after ovulation, and it's literally the sign that the embryo is attaching itself to the uterine wall. Now, the crucial thing to understand here is the amount. We're absolutely not talking about a period or even what you call light bleeding.
And this just says it all, doesn't it? We're talking about 1 or 2 drops of blood. That's it. The source really emphasizes that this is so minimal that it is incredibly easy to miss. It might happen when you go to the bathroom and you just don't see it. So while it's a super strong sign, it's also a pretty sneaky one.
Okay, next up, let's talk about persistent sensations. Now, these are symptoms that might feel familiar from ovulation, but there's one key difference. They don't go away. They stick around. And this is what's so fascinating. Normally, those ovulation symptoms, a little bit of cramping or feeling a bit warm, they fade away after a day or two. But if a pregnancy is started, those exact same symptoms just continue, and they might even get a little stronger. The big takeaway is that they just don't stop. A perfect example of a symptom that sticks around is changes in your breasts. You might notice they feel fuller or maybe a bit bigger, but the real telltale sign is an extreme sensitivity. We're talking about a level of tenderness where even the slightest touch from your clothes can feel really uncomfortable. And get this particular sensitivity can last for a while, sometimes well into the 4th month of pregnancy. Okay, so we've covered a lot of the physical stuff, but the changes aren't just happening in your body. Next, let's get into the sensory and emotional shifts you might start to feel. It's pretty wild. This quote just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? You could be a super calm person normally, and then all of a sudden, you're getting so irritated over the tiniest things. Or you might feel like you could cry for absolutely no reason at all. These mood swings can come on so fast and then just disappear, leaving you thinking, whoa, what just happened? Oh, this is a classic, and for a really good reason. Your sense of smell can become like a superpower. You might be walking down the street and suddenly smell exactly what your neighbor 3 doors down is cooking for dinner. It's this surprising, almost superhuman sharpening of your senses that a lot of women report right at the beginning of a pregnancy. And now for the final stretch, and often the most confusing part, the days right before your period is supposed to show up. This gets so tricky because honestly, a lot of early pregnancy symptoms feel just like PMS. So in these last few days of the wait, you might get these little waves of dizziness that come and go. A bit of nausea is also really common, and what's interesting is it often shows up at night. It's more of a queasy feeling, not usually actual vomiting. You might also just have this general feeling of being puffy or swollen all over, almost like your body is holding on to a little extra water. And this one. This is probably the most confusing sign of all. You can get cramps that feel identical to the ones that tell you your period is literally just hours away. It's so easy to think, oh, well, that's it then, when in reality, this kind of cramping can be a totally normal sign as your uterus starts to prepare for all the changes of early pregnancy. So, when you really think about it, by tuning into these signals, from that sudden dryness to those weird sensory shifts, you're not just passively waiting anymore. You're observing. You're actively listening to your body. And that really transforms the whole 2-week wait. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. How can this new awareness, this new way of listening, empower you on your journey, no matter what the outcome is?